Okay, I'm here with Alex Morgan, the 2020 winner of the Charles Parker Prize, and Sian Medford, the 2019 winner of the Charles Parker Prize. Hello, ladies. It's lovely to see you. Thank you for taking part. And we're hoping by learning a little bit about your experiences that we'll be able to inspire some of the students to enter the prize. So, hello.
Hi.
Okay, if I can just start by asking you both to introduce your documentaries, we'll hear a little clip from both of them. So if we come to you first, Sian.
Yes, so my radio documentary is called A Young Cell in a Small Town.
Thanks, Sian, for that. And Alex, if you want to introduce yours.
My radio documentary is called This Ain't My Life.
We're at Bridgend, aren't we? Oh God, and we're off to Port Talbot. I'm so excited. But there's been a slight delay, it seems like. Not to worry. We'll get there eventually. I am feeling a little bit excited, to be honest with you. Hey? Can you see I've got a spring in my shoe?
I know you can't stop dancing.
I know. And get some of them Welsh cakes down me when I get down.
Okay.
Right,
if I can just
sweetmans now. Just need to get a couple of Welsh cakes and then. I think I'm going to go with the traditional currants with the please. Oh, what? Do you know how many's in a packet
for the Charles Parker?
Oh no, can I have?
Yeah, so I was in my third year, I believe, of university, and we had a module called radio documentary, which was
people make other people's lives harder.
And I said to her, Sue,
you know, just a little hello is help, and people can't even do that.
When you spend 15, 16 hours sat in the doorway, people think you're invisible.
You always need to try and say hello. I've never asked for nothing.
I'm a homeless person that no one cares about, and no one's going to do nothing about it. And that's the way it is.
Listening to them two talk.
I can only imagine how it really feels to be homeless on the streets of Birmingham. I'm Alex Morgan, and I'm a student at Birmingham City University. Like most people who live in our city, I walk past and mostly ignore too many people sleeping rough on our streets. A couple of months ago, I was walking back from town, a little bit drunk, and I saw a homeless man curled up in a ball like a child. He was sobbing, but people were just walking straight past him like he didn't exist. So I ended up sitting down with him. I got him a hot meal, and I just had a chat.
Down to I think it was 15 minutes. We was trying to mix it down. We finally submitted it, and I got it in, and then I got the call. So it was just crazy. That was literally a story in itself.
Well, we'll come back to that story because I am interested to hear. Most people just submit things and then they forget about them. So we'll come back to that in just a minute. But can I just ask you, Alex, what your experience was? How did you go from making this documentary and putting it together for an assignment to then submitting it for the Charles Parker Prize?
Yeah, so slightly similar to Sian, I was in my second year of university, also doing a radio documentary module that was taught by Sam Coley. And prior to that, I'd only ever made a 5-minute documentary before in my first year with you, Siobhan. But I stalled for weeks because I did not know what to do it on. I wanted to do it on something important to me, but I didn't know what to do. So I was stalling for weeks. Weeks would go by. I'd turn up to my lesson. Sam would ask, Alex, do you know what you're doing? And I just, nope. And then one week I read in the news about a homeless man who died in Birmingham. So I was living in Birmingham at the time at Birmingham City University. And I noticed the man they were writing about was a homeless man that I knew. And because I had that personal tie, I just thought that's the story, because it's not just a story about another homeless man, it's the personal story that I can tell. So I made the documentary. I was quite proud of it, but I mean, it's my first big documentary, so I didn't think much of it. It got a good grade, and then I moved on with my life. And then about a year later, Sam Coley, my teacher, emailed me and was like, Alex, there are these awards going. I really think you should submit this. And I was like, I guess if you say so. So it was submitted, and then I completely forgot about it until, like Sian said, I got a call, and then, yeah, got the call.
Well, I'm so glad you both did submit them, because they're such powerful pieces. And for anybody that hasn't listened to them yet, I suggest you do go on and listen to them. We weren't surprised they won at all. And obviously, we need to just get it out there on the table. There is a Birmingham connection for anybody that hasn't noticed and hasn't picked up on my accent. Alex was at Birmingham City University, and that's where you did your degree. Sian is from Birmingham. So for me to actually be able to talk to you both about these was really exciting, because it's a great way of shouting about people from my hometown and people that have documented things in my hometown. So it's great. I'm really excited. I want to come back to you, Sian, and just ask you, what you mentioned that you put it in and then you got the call. What was that like? How did that come about?
It was really strange, because like you said, I kind of forgot about it, because we put it in so last minute. I kind of was like, it's not gonna come of anything. I put it in, it would be just kind of nice if anything did come of it, and it didn't. And then when I got the call from Andy, he was just like, yeah, it would be really nice if you could come to the day. And I was like, oh, Bournemouth, that's a bit far. I was like, okay, I'll come along. Came along, and then obviously the day was amazing in itself. And then they announced that I'd won. And I remember I was recording it on my phone, and they kept going through everyone. And I turned to my lecturer and I said, Sue, I'm not going to win it. So I stopped the recording. And then they said my name, and I stopped recording on my phone. So yeah, it was just a bit crazy.
How did it make you feel to have won? I mean, how did that make you feel?
Well, when I won and they called out my name, I was still sat down, and Sue was like, Sian, they've said your name. I was like, me? She was like, yeah, Sian, get up. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And it was really nice, because this documentary was based on my family and my mum's side of the family. So when we was listening to it, everyone was in tears. And as well, it kind of brought my family really close together, because some of the parts who live like in Germany, Switzerland, they didn't know this went on, and how my mum and her siblings were raised. So yeah, it was really lovely. And it, yeah, as I said, it brought my family closer together.
Fantastic. Alex, let's come to you. What did you, you forgot about it, and then Sam came back to you, obviously, and said he was going to put you forward for the prize. But what did you think when you found out that, you'd won?
Well, it was slightly different for me, because obviously we were all in lockdown by the time this was all happening. So there was no Charles Parker Day able to happen. But my phone just started ringing. I remember I was sat at my kitchen table and I didn't recognise the number. So I picked it up, and it was Andy Cartwright. And he was like, it's Andy speaking from the Charles Parker Prize. And I was thinking, what's the Charles Parker Prize? I couldn't remember. It came to me quick enough. And he told me that I'd been shortlisted to be a finalist, which was a big shock in itself, because number one, I forgot that I was entered. And number two, I really didn't think my piece of work was good enough to even be placed. So it was a big shock to hear, number one, it had been listened to, and number two, that I had been chosen as a finalist. And he basically said on the phone, we will be calling the winner at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So just make sure your phone's on you, but we're telling this to all of the finalists. So I just kind of brushed it off. I was like, well, it's a big honor to be like placed as a finalist, but that was nice. And then obviously the next day came around. By 10 o'clock, because I'd brushed off the thought of winning, I wasn't sat waiting for a call. I was just minding my own business and my phone started ringing. I was like, who would be ringing me? Picked it up and I got told I won. And I think I was more shocked than anything else, because I said a minute ago, I really didn't think my piece of work was good enough. So to be told that it had beaten that many entries, and I'm sure obviously they were all brilliant having listened to them now, it was a real honor. And I remember I just kept going, really, are you sure? Because I just couldn't believe it was me.
It must have been quite a surreal experience as well, being in lockdown and getting that news.
It was definitely something to lighten the mood, because obviously I'd just left university. I didn't know what I was doing. I was stuck in the house. And it was just a really nice bit of excitement, especially because that was my first proper radio documentary I'd ever made. So then to be told that it was good enough to win something, it just brought a lot of joy into a very uncertain time.
Yeah, I bet. So, other winners have had mentoring sessions with multi-award winning radio producers like Alan Hall, Kathy Fitzgerald, Stephen Rajam and Sarah Parker, who is Charles's daughter. I know you both worked with Simon Elms, the BBC's former creative director. Can you tell us a bit about the mentoring process and spill the beans on Simon? We're dying to know. Sian, can I ask you first?
Yeah. Do you know what? When I first had Simon, I remember, obviously I met him at the Charles Parker Day, and then afterwards we met up. And he's such a mellow person. Like the way he talks, the way he just is, his presence, he's just really, really mellow. And obviously us Birmingham people were quite loud. So obviously I had to tone it down a bit, but he's so lovely. And when like we were working together, because I believe he's based in West London. So he was right next to my university. So he came in and we was like remixing my documentary to be ready for BBC 4. And he was like, okay, Sian, maybe just try and say it like this. And my Birmingham accent, it was just too much, I think. So he was like, just breathe and say it again. But yeah, really good to work with Simon. And no matter, what time it was, what I was struggling with, he was always there answering emails. He was always like, Sian, are you okay? Have you got everything that you need? So yeah, really, really lovely. And it's nice to always like see him at events as well. He's always like, yeah, so this is Sian, come in, Sian, this is this person. So yeah, I honestly couldn't fault Simon at all with everything that he did.
How did you feel about being mentored? Because that can be quite intimidating sometimes, can't it?
It was okay. So because I love working with people who have been in the industry for years. So I felt privileged to work, with Simon. Everyone that was asking me, I was like, yeah, Simon Elms is my mentor, Simon Elms. Like I dropped his name everywhere. So for me, it was fine. He could tell me anything. I'd be like, okay, yeah, no problem, I'll do that. So yeah, it was perfect for me. It was no problem at all.
Great. Alex, let's come to you. What was your experience like with Simon? Like I said, dish the dirt.
Yeah, so I think Simon Elms is brilliant. He's like a wise owl, because obviously he's very, very, He's very, very respected within the radio industry, and he's very successful in what he's done. So when I was told that Simon would be my mentor, I was like, yes, I've hit the jackpot. I think he was brilliant. my experience was slightly different to Sian's, where because of lockdown, all of our meetings were done over Zoom. But I mean, we had so many meetings, and he was just really, really good. And I think the ability to be mentored by someone who is so successful is priceless, because what he taught me are things I never could have learned on my own. That's come from his years and years of work and experience, and it was really great. I think the big thing that I wasn't expecting was, obviously, as students, our work isn't automatically ready for airing on the BBC. So that's what the mentor did with us. He worked with me to get my documentary up for airing on the BBC, and we changed it quite a bit, but throughout the whole process, he was adamant, although he was my mentor, it was still all going to be my work. He made sure it still felt like mine throughout the whole piece. He helped me rewrite all of my voiceovers, and he was really good with that. I had a lot of tips from him on my voice and intonation and phrasing and all of that. He helped me like physically write the script as well, which was really great because I've had no experience in writing professional scripts for radio. Yeah, he was really brilliant. No question was worth not asking with him, because he had an answer and a story for everything, and it was just really brilliant.
Well, he speaks very highly of both of you as well, so it's nice to hear that. And you know, I'm disappointed there's no real dirt, but I'm also really pleased, if I'm honest. So let's come back to once that process was finished. I mean, Alex, you made the point that your work wasn't automatically ready for Radio 4. Were there any big shocks in what you learned during the mentoring process about how to work professionally in terms of radio and getting stuff ready to go out on the BBC networks? Sian, can I ask you first?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I would say for myself was within my piece, there was a lot of, like derogatory language in terms of, you know, how my mum and her family were raised in Wales, because they were the only Afro-Caribbean people in that small South Wales. So one of the hardest things for me was battling to keep that language in. And again, Simon and both Andy were so brilliant, because both me and my family were kind of saying, well, if we take that out, it kind of loses that rawness and that authenticity. And Simon and Andy fought for me, and they were like, listen, we're keeping it in. Obviously, the BBC have their own policies of what's allowed and what's not, and because of the time that it was airing. So I would say that was definitely one. And then in terms of timescale, I'd only literally just learned how to use Pro Tools. So trying to edit everything, I was like, all right, we're going to have to hold on. I need to get me notes out. I need to find out how to like do certain stuff, the shortcuts. So yeah, I think just the time scale of trying to get it out, trying to make the different edits, that was what was one of the things that was kind of like panicky, but it was all right.
Good. Alex?
Just having a think. I was going to say something. I can't remember what it was. Could you phrase the question again for me? But okay.
It was just what did you learn from that mentoring process about getting programs ready to go out on BBC networks that you didn't really know before?
So one of the things I was taught was one of the people I interviewed ran his own charity, and there were quite a few like plugs, as you'd call them, for his charity, and the BBC are quite hot on not, you know, prioritizing or doing favoritism for particular charities over others, so we had to take that out, but it made sense. It was interesting though, because Andy had me on Zoom the whole time we were, you know, applying to put my piece up on the BBC, so that was really interesting to learn. But the other thing was just having someone else look at it and offer their insight. So my piece initially was very blocky. I had interview, whereas Simon offered this whole new perspective of interweaving these things. So it was a lot easier on the ear. And that was really, really interesting to learn how to do.
So then once you finally got to that point, Sian, what did it feel like to have your work go out on BBC Radio 4?
Crazy. crazy. Like, I just remember I was obviously posting it like different places, telling friends and family to listen in. And half of me didn't think it would play out. It sounds so crazy, but I thought, yeah, they're not going to play it out. They might just skip over me. So we was all sat, like me, my mum and my dad was sat at the dining room table. We played it out loud. And it was just when Sarah Parker, she introduced him and said, this is the gold winner of the Charles Parker Prize. And then she said my name. And then I heard my mum's voice and the music coming, and I was like, they're playing it. And then I just had floods of messages. And my mum, bless her, she had her phone out and she was recording it as it was playing out. And I just thought, oh gosh, this is all too much. But yeah, it was really nice, really, really nice.
Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Sian, I had all my friends and family listening. My dad had his phone out and he was like, that's my girl. He's a producer. She's a producer now. But I mean, obviously, having edited it and re-edited my piece, you've heard it a million times. I know exactly what's going to happen when, but listening to it really air on the radio, I just couldn't stop listening. I was almost sat there in awe, like my whole family and I, we were all just sat in complete silence, just listening. We didn't speak until it was finished. And afterwards, it was just a lot of shock. My piece was airing on not only the radio, but one of the biggest stations in the country. So it was a really big thing. And especially to hear the words produced by Alex Morgan, it was a big honour.
Can I just ask you, once that happened, obviously when you win the Charles Parker Prize, the things that come along after that, obviously it opens doors for you. I know your experience has been slightly different, Alex, and I'm sure there are things that are going to come later. None of us could do anything about lockdown. But, Sian, can I just ask you about your placement with BBC Radio Features and future plans you've got for, because we can't hear some of your plans this year as we were planning to, but you've got big plans for the Charles Parker Day 2021, haven't you? Can you just first of all talk about your placement and then go on to your plans?
Yeah, so after winning the Charles Parker Prize, I then got a 2-week placement with BBC Radio 4 with the docs team. So I went down to London, back down to London, shall I say. And then I sat basically with the docs team. I sat with Philip, and in the different days, I would help on, different projects that people were doing. I would do some research. One of the projects that I sat on was Crypto Queen, which now hearing it go out is crazy because I'm like, I put a timestamp on that piece of audio. So that was really, really cool. And I met so many contacts at that placement. Everyone was really nice. I got to sit on loads of different shows like Women's Hour. So that was really, really good. I've got my little notebook of like email addresses because Simon was like, Sian, one thing, write down email addresses. It's about the people that you know. I was like, okay. And then following on from that 2-week placement, I then kept in contact with people. There was a lady called Fiona that worked there, and she'll still email me and just kind of keep me up to date with what's happening. After that, I then just got contacted by a lot of people, a lot of people. They were just like, I heard you won the Charles Parker. Do you mind doing this for me? Do you mind doing this? I don't want to give too much away, but I'm working on hopefully a possible podcast about the Commonwealth, which, fingers crossed goes through. So keeping it a bit hush. And then little projects within Birmingham, working with young people, which is really, really cool, and just teaching them the ways of radio. I've been working. And then one thing for the Charles Parker Day that we're going to be doing obviously next is going to be a documentary kind of thing based on growing up in Birmingham, which I'm really, really excited about because I love Birmingham. I think you can kind of tell that. So just being able to kind of share how I've grown up and my perspective from things is what I want to showcase in this, and just get different people's stories and opinions because I personally think I've lived quite a sheltered life, and then listening to people's stories in Birmingham, it's just crazy. So yeah, that's the kind of things that I'm working on at the moment.
I think it's going to be very interesting as well to listen to your experience compared to your mum's experience.
Definitely.
Because I sat through that documentary, you know, I mean, I've got to admit both of them, when I've listened to them both, and I've sat in my front room on Zoom, listening through my laptop, and cried, because they're such moving stories. And like we said before we started recording this, the connections to Birmingham, I instantly feel connected to both of you. And for people that are watching that aren't in Birmingham, you know, despite it being a large city, we're well connected and we're quite a small circle of people. So we feel those connections straight away. So I think it'd be really interesting to hear your story in comparison to your mum's. I can't wait to listen to it. Just going back to the 2021 plans for the Charles Parker Day, can you just tell us a little bit about that?
In terms of the thing that I'm creating by growing up. So what I've sort of picked up so far in terms of interviews is I wanted to get a perspective from the different ethnicities in Birmingham, because one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is Birmingham is so diverse. So I've done interviews with different people, different age groups as well. So there's one lady that's on the documentary, she grew up in Handsworth, whereas I've got somebody else, another boy, he grew up in Great Bar. So Handsworth and Great Bar, I mean, people from Birmingham that are listening right now, I'm thinking, what is she on about? They're two conflicting areas. So I just wanted to make sure that that was kind of seen, but then also I want my voice in there. And like you said, I want to showcase how times have kind of changed in terms of, you know, like racism, discrimination, all the things that my mum went through and what I'm going through, and just kind of showed the conflict from that as well.
So this is potentially a Birmingham ballad that you're talking about.
Wow, kind of. This is what Andy was saying, because I know Charles, he created a lot of ballads, and that's what he's known for. So yeah, it would be really nice if it was, you know, like that. Music as well, Birmingham is a big thing, and in my life music is a very, very huge thing, so I want to incorporate that as well.
Alex, can we come to you and just ask about your plans for, can you just tell us a bit about, obviously lockdown has changed some things for you in terms of moving forward, but can you tell us about some of your plans for 2021?
Yeah, of course. So obviously graduating in 2020 wasn't ideal, so anything professional was kind of halted for a while. But I'm very fortunate that, like Sian, I've been offered a work placement with BBC. So I'm really looking forward to when the day I can do that. But in the meantime, I'm very lucky that I've got some of my own recording equipment so I can continue creating radio. And one thing I will continue to do is the kind of radio that I like to do is use my voice to tell other people's stories. Maybe they're ordinary people or people that don't have their own voice. And that's what I want to continue doing.
That's great. Can I just, we're coming towards the end now, but I just wanted to ask you both. You've talked really passionately about the process and the things you did and the work you're doing, and the mentoring that Simon gave you. If you were going to give any students thinking of entering the Charles Parker Prize any advice, can I ask you what that would be? Can we come to you first, Sian?
I would say one thing is, don't ever think that you're not good enough, because when I was going to submit for Charles Parker, one thing that kind of stopped me was I said to my lecturer, I'm not good enough to submit for it. I'm not, you know, my piece isn't good enough, I don't know radio documentary. Obviously that turned out a bit different. So yeah, I would say to them, you know, don't ever put yourself down. Make sure that you go for whatever you want to go for, because you can literally achieve greatness, and that is what's happened to me. I've been in the Charles Parker Prize, Charles Parker Prize, and now I'm just literally achieving greatness.
Thank you. Alex?
I think the most important thing with radio and any kind of media that you're creating is get it out there. If you're making a piece of radio, the best thing you can possibly do is get people to listen to that. I mean, my documentary, I didn't have any plans to share that apart from with me and with my teacher, and it's gone on to win a gold award. And as Sian said, the Charles Parker Prize is a massive stepping stone towards so many other different opportunities. And I think you can always be yourself, your own worst critic. So just take any opportunity you can to get your work out there and get it listened to, because you don't know what the judges are going to think of your work. So you have absolutely nothing to lose. Just get it out there and submit anything you've got.
Well, thank you both for talking to me today. And on behalf of the trustees, I'd just like to say we're really, really proud of you. And you did some fantastic work, and I can't wait to hear what you did next. And obviously, as Charles Parker Day 2021 will be hosted in Birmingham, I look forward to seeing you both there then in 2021.
Definitely.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.